What if I told you the biggest joke in the NFL just became its biggest threat? For 2 decades, the Washington Commanders were the NFL's cautionary tale, a franchise buried under scandal, incompetence, and heartbreak. Players wanted out, fans stayed home, and hope, no chance of that. But now, the team in the nation's capital is unrecognizable. A ruthless new front office, a locker room that actually believes, and a superstar who might just be the league's next icon. The Commanders didn't just clean house, they built a fortress. This is how the worst team in football became the one that nobody wants to face. This is the Commanders' renaissance. It all starts at the top. It's impossible to overstate how awful an NFL owner Dan Snyder was. Before he bought the team in 1999, Washington was no superpower or dynasty, but they were respectable and often a playoff team. Once he became the owner, however, his unwillingness to spend real money and poor workplace culture turned FedEx Field into a miserable place to play. Beyond turf that famously caused injuries due to lack of upkeep, the team was 164, 220, and 2 under Snyder. They went through 10 head coaches in 24 years and started 27 different quarterbacks. Now, some of that has been due to awful injury luck, but it has also been because no quarterback aside from Kirk Cousins has been able to go above and beyond with these subpar rosters that the Snyder administration constructed. The vast majority of Washington's Pro Bowlers in that span were either special teamers or defensive stars who were traded away or walked in free agency. From the time that Snyder bought the team to when he sold it, Washington only made the playoffs 4 times, going 2-4 and never making it past the divisional round. And all of that is ignoring his lawsuits, alleged fraud, and giving misleading testimony before Congress. The 2023 NFLPA report cards had Washington as the worst organization to play for, noting awful team facilities and treatment of players and their families. Needless to say, there was nowhere to go but up when Snyder sold the team in early 2023 to Josh Harris, a DC local and experienced sports owner. Harris quickly started establishing a new team and workplace culture. The best thing he did, though, was not changing too much about the team right from the jump. He retained head coach Ron Rivera and GM Martin Mayhew to see if they were the right people to turn the franchise around. After a 4-13 season in 2023, though, it was time for Harris to blow it all up, and he did so methodically. First, Rivera was fired, before Mayhew agreed to step aside into an executive role, paving the way for Adam Peters to take over as general manager. After spending 2 decades as a scout and assistant to some of the sharpest minds in football, Peters was given the reins to overhaul the team's roster and to have serious say in the coaching hires. He selected Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn to lead the new squad. Quinn was a controversial choice when announced, with his previous head coaching job being a very memorable one with the Falcons, for all the wrong reasons. Quinn was, however, an expert in building young defenses who played as a solid unit and was a respected leader, winning NFL Assistant Coach of the Year in 2021. He brought one of his defensive trainees, Joe Witt Jr., in to be his defensive play caller, but went outside his tree for the offense, tapping Texas Tech and former Cardinals head coach Cliff Kingsbury to design the offense. While Kingsbury had flamed out in Arizona as a head coach, he was a serious talent in offensive play calling, and Quinn and Peters picked him to help them build a new, dynamic offense. In order to build that offense, change had to come, and that started with shipping away QB Sam Howell to the Seattle Seahawks for extra capital for a make-or-break 2024 draft. Howell had just thrown for nearly 4,000 yards, and while his interception numbers were unforgivable, a lesser team would have tried to ride him as a bridge QB while investing in the rest of the roster. Instead, Peters and Quinn saw opportunities in the draft, but there was work to do before selecting a new face of the franchise. In the 2024 offseason, Washington spent money like it was on fire. Adam Peters had been hired to make something out of the NFL's second most cap space in the 2024 season, and he made it count. Peters spent his money following recent models for success like the Chiefs and Eagles, building outward from the trenches, which meant upgrading one of the league's worst O-lines first. In came Tyler Biadasz, an old favorite of Quinn's from his Dallas days, and Nick Allegretti, an absurd athlete who had been stuck as a backup on Kansas City's stacked interior line. After the team felt confident in their line and added Austin Eckler and Marcus Mariota as offensive veterans, Dan Quinn seemed like he was given carte blanche to rebuild his defense. For the long term, young, dependable players like edge Dorrance Armstrong and linebacker Frankie Louvu, as well as safety Jeremy Reeves, were all given fair but sub-market deals to infuse the unit with talent. But the mercenaries were the real swings, as Washington brought Bobby Wagner, Jeremy Chin, and Clelin Ferrell in, all on one-year deals as players who were nearing the end of their careers. After such an aggressive free agency period, there were surprisingly few obvious holes in the Commanders' roster, giving them justification to draft the best possible players with their high-round picks. Between sharp trades and compensatory picks, Washington drafted 6 players in the first 2 days of the 2024 NFL Draft. Their day 3 picks haven't turned into gems as of this video, but Javonte Jean-Baptiste had flashes of a 7th round steal in 2024 and could trend nicely. But looking at the others from least to most impactful, there weren't many whiffs in Peter's first draft as GM. In terms of immediate impact, Trizon Johnny Newton is a surprising last place. Coming into the year off a lingering college injury, Newton still managed to appear in 19 of the team's 20 games and showed plenty of why he was a first-round prospect when healthy. However, his run defense was weaker than advertised, and veterans on the interior line had stronger showings. Regardless, Newton showed plenty of flashes. Next, tight end Ben Sinnott was drafted to be a blocking tight end, as the team had already acquired Zach Ertz to be a weapon. And Sinnott did his job, graded by PFF as one of Washington's best run blockers and their best pass blocker when asked to do so. Next up, another young weapon was Luke McCaffrey, who also wasn't asked to do too much in a crowded receiver room. He did take advantage of his reps though, averaging 9.3 yards per reception and showing solid ball skills. More valuable than McCaffrey though was TCU tackle Brandon Coleman. He took limited snaps early in the season before becoming the starting left tackle in week 5. While he had gaps in his game, the left tackle position is a tricky one to adjust to, and Coleman certainly showed signs of a promising future. The second best selection that Washington made in 2024 was Mike Sainristil. The cornerback from Michigan was given a lot of responsibility in his rookie year, appearing in all 20 games as the nickel corner, recording 4 interceptions and 9 broken up passes. He graded out as the Commanders' 6th best coverage player and overall defender. All of these rookies contribute to a fantastic first class for Adam Peters, but you all know who Washington's best draft pick was in 2024. The 2025 Offensive Rookie of the Year and hailed savior of DC, Jayden Daniels, was taken 2nd overall. Daniels had an up-and-down college career, but tied it all together in 2024, winning the Heisman Trophy and proving himself ready for the big time. His dual threat capabilities meant him having an argument for best arm and best mobility in the class, and that may even include the draft's running backs. Despite being stuck in a draft class with generational prospect Caleb Williams, Dan Quinn and Adam Peters weren't very subtle leading up to the draft before taking their hopeful franchise QB. In doing so, phase 1 of the rebuild was complete. The goal going into 2024 was simple: develop Daniels into a quality NFL starter, identify holes on the roster, and be more competitive than the Washington teams of the past half-decade. Instead, the nation's capital caught fire. After a tough Week 1 loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Florida, Washington won 4 games in a row, averaging almost 34 points per game in those wins, which included a slugfest win over the Bengals for Daniels' breakout game and 2 blowouts over the Browns and Cardinals. They then went 3-1 over the next 4 games, featuring a Hail Mary win over the Bears. That win, which moved the team to 6-2 at the time, showed an amount of fight and spirit that hadn't been seen in Washington since the 90s, and was soon needed again after a 3-loss skid against the Steelers, Eagles, and Cowboys. Before the losing streak, rookie Jayden Daniels had been great, garnering sleeper MVP buzz along with his near lock of the Offensive Rookie of the Year trophy. But an injury had limited and even benched him for a small stretch. After the slide though, Washington was 7-5 in a competitive NFC playoff picture. A Snyder Washington team would have imploded after 3 losses in a row, but the reborn Commanders rallied, winning their final 5 games of the year, including a payback win over the Eagles and 3 30-plus point showings. The Commanders finished the 2024 regular season with a 12-5 record, stuck in the 6th seed thanks to a ridiculously strong top of the conference. They did so against one of the league's harder schedules, and still scored the 5th most points in football. Jayden Daniels was a natural fit for Cliff Kingsbury's offense, which makes sense considering the context of him working with a young, run-happy Mahomes and Kyler Murray. Because of this, Cliff was able to expertly corral Daniels' flighty nature into his offense. The rookie threw for over 3,500 yards and 25 touchdowns, while adding almost 900 rushing yards and half a dozen touchdowns on the ground. With him leading the way, the rest of the team flourished. Terry McLaurin finally had a quarterback to connect with, and he went for over 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns while sharing touches with Zach Ertz, Olamide Zaccheaus, Noah Brown, and Yami Brown. This new offense took them beyond just being 2024's surprise playoff team. They were fully a contender. In the wildcard round against Tampa Bay, the franchise had to adjust to its first playoff appearance since 2020, but got the win after a back-and-forth game. Then they outdueled the NFC favorite Lions, taking the lead in the middle of the second quarter and never giving it back. Their 45-31 win made the world take the Commanders seriously as they faced the future Super Bowl champion Eagles in the NFC Championship game. The season ended there, but not only was that not a disappointment, it marked the end of one of the greatest seasons in franchise history. Their first conference championship appearance since winning the Super Bowl in 1991 seemed to mark a return to greatness for Washington. When all was said and done, the Commanders didn't look like a fluke in 2024. Their offensive production skyrocketed as a result of careful roster construction and good coaching, as well as outstanding play by Jayden Daniels. Despite struggles along the offensive line, JD5's leadership and otherworldly talent and skill pushed away pressure and raised the team's ceiling exponentially. Washington was graded as PFF's fourth best passing offense, while Daniels was the fourth best graded passer and fifth overall QB, just behind superstars like Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Justin Herbert. I guess it helps to have a name beginning with J. Entering such company as a rookie was unheard of, and Daniels' masterful running of his offense had a ripple effect. While Washington's defense was nothing special, the improved offense lightened their load and allowed for guys like Bobby Wagner to make high-impact plays. It was also helped by the addition of veteran corner Marshawn Lattimore, traded for from the Saints at the deadline, although he was limited by injury. The improved balance allowed Washington to play a higher level of football than a first-year rebuilding roster had any right to. After the 2024 season ended, not only did the hype surrounding the Commanders not die, but all eyes turned to what is projected to be an even stronger season for them in 2025. And they answered with an even more aggressive 2025 offseason than they pulled off to start the rebuild. Once again, Adam Peters attacked the trenches, trading for Texans all-world left tackle Laramie Tunsil, solidifying Jayden's blindside for the foreseeable future, and drafting Josh Connerly Jr. at the end of the draft's first round to develop into an additional powerhouse blocker. Then they added another versatile weapon for Kingsbury's offense, trading for Deebo Samuel from the 49ers, who started showing his age in 2024, but looks to flourish when not forced to be the top option. And once again, Dan Quinn was allowed to go all out in additions for his defense, signing interior lineman Javon Kinlaw to replace cap casualty Jonathan Allen, as well as a new plethora of defensive mercenaries, including extensions for 2024 contributors like Clelin Ferrell. Then, in a draft with significantly fewer picks than 2024, Washington was clinical, adding corner Trey Amos in the second round as a quality cornerback 2 option along with Sane Ristil behind Marshawn Lattimore. They also brought in Jalen Lane, an under-the-radar receiver from Virginia Tech, as well as depth players at linebacker and running back. The Washington roster got deeper and more talented for a second year in a row, even after a run to the NFC Championship game, which would usually force a team to overpay in order to retain their talent. The Commanders' window couldn't be more wide open after their historic rebuild. They are currently tied for the 8th best odds to win Super Bowl 60, and Jayden Daniels is 5th in MVP odds, with many expecting a 2019 Lamar-like season of dominance from him. The one thing counting against the Commanders is that they won't be the plucky underdogs anymore, and their division certainly hasn't got any weaker. The good news? Jayden Daniels is entering just his second season, and his rookie contract allows them to be as flexible with their cap as any financially shrewd franchise on the block. If all of 2024 was possible with a first-year head coach, a rookie GM, and a rookie QB, not to mention a newly assembled roster, the ceiling of these reborn Washington Commanders is the Super Bowl, if not the NFL's next dynasty. And all they had to do was get a new owner.